So, Olivia, what's going on in your life? What's important to you?
That's a very good question. A lot of things are important to me. It's important to me that I stay healthy. Another point of my importance that I feel important is that my mental state stays into a calm and happy place. And it's important to me just to live each day with knowing that I am contributing something to the earth.
What is it that you think you're contributing?
Well, mostly I feel like when I'm out, I like to communicate with other people because by me being a spiritual person, I can readily see the spirits in other people, and that's what I'm trying to contact when I speak with them is to their spirit. I'm a very spiritual person myself, and I'm striving to reach a point where my spirituality and my mind become one, and that I can only see the good things in people and the good things that are going on this earth, because this is a very hard planet to live on. When I was a little girl, I used to always, in the summertime, look up to the heavens and look up to the sky and wonder why I got left here.
Yeah, you told me that several times.
And I always looked up in the sky to see if whoever left me here was coming back to get me. And at a certain age, I realized that I was stranded here. And
So was that the beginning
stranded
of your abandonment issues?
Basically, yes.
That was the beginning of it.
Yes.
Deserted.
Is that I was deserted, and then I had the ultimate desertion, which was my father. He told me that he would return on the weekend, and I think I was about maybe 5, maybe 6 years old, and I knew in my mind that I would never see him again, and so I was crying, and I was trying to hold on to him as long as I could. I don't really know who pulled me away from him, but I was pulled away from him. I was not just, gently taken from him. I was actually forced away from him. And that basically started the trauma in my life that I have been dealing with for most of my life. Also, when I was a child, after that incident, I started having night terrors, and those were pretty bad sometimes. And I remember one occasion where I was having a night terror, and my great-grandmother also had some type of illness, and I think she probably had dementia because she was very old, and she would start shouting.
In her sleep and stuff?
No, and she'd be awake.
Okay.
She'd be shouting.
Kind of like a Tourette's person would.
No, just shouting. Just shouting like, I don't know whether it may have been fear, it could have been anxiety, it could have been a lot of reasons. But I know that one thing my grandmother used to give my great-grandmother this red medicine, which I didn't know what it was. But anyway, it stopped her from shouting, so I believe it was probably some kind of drug in there.
Some codeine, probably.
Codeine or something, because she would go to sleep. But
remember, cough syrup used to have some strong chemicals.
yes, it did.
Codeine and stuff.
And there was stuff you could just buy over the counter,
Yep.
too, like Logdum,
Yep.
and which
Turperhydrates.
was Turperhydrates. You know, there was different things that you could buy over the counter. As for myself, I never had any medication for my night terrors. I believe at the time that I was having them that, doctors didn't know too much about children having night terrors and the reason why they did. And I think only recently they've learned that children suffer from depression, anxiety, or disorder. And back when I was a child, that was never addressed. They think children suffer from depression or anxiety disorder. So I had to lead my entire life up to a certain point with anxiety disorder and depression. My childhood was I'm trying to think of the word for it. It was pleasant at times, but it was mostly sad. It was sad because I didn't have any relationship with my mother. I wish I did, but she was the one who would have had to initiate that relationship as
you were
a child.
You wouldn't know how to do all of that. You wouldn't know it was needed until you needed it.
Right. And so, only thing I mostly remember about my mother is her going to work. She would give me and my sister half a stick of gum apiece, and then she would kiss us on the forehead, and her lipstick would stay on my forehead. And even after I would take my nightly bath, I would never wash the lipstick that she had off of my face, because to me that was the only love that she was showing. And then when I got older and I was in school, I went to a predominantly white school where I was the only black student in the elementary school. And I did not know too much about racism other than the fact that when we would line up 2 by 2, every now and then I would have a partner who would refuse to hold my hand. And I did not think that was racism. I felt it was something personal. It might have been, or it may have been racism, I don't really know. But as I progressed on to getting to junior high, by the time I got to junior high, the color had changed in our neighborhood from predominantly white to predominantly black. And I think that was due to white flight, because that's what happened when black people moved into a neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio.
True.
There'd be white flight. So by the time that I got to junior high, and I was not really that familiar with black people. It was kind of new to me, and I suffered from a different kind of racism. I suffered from racism from my own people who refused to acknowledge the fact that I did come from a background of white, being taught by white teachers. So I learned the English language in the way that Americans speak, American white people speak. So for quite some time, when I was in junior high, I was teased and called white girl because of the way I spoke. In order to fit in, because at that age, you know, you want to fit in. You don't want to be, you know, on the outside.
That's the most important thing for us, is to be part of the group.
So I kind of changed the way I spoke. I kind of changed the way, you know, my whole persona, so that I could be more black.
Fit in, right.
And I did have a couple of good friends during that time. And, I don't remember. Junior high to me was litigious at most. It was, school was very difficult for me. I didn't particularly care for it. I didn't like it. And so it reflected a lot in my grades, that I really didn't get good grades when I was in junior high. And then I had my second apocalyptic experience. And you were involved in that apocalyptic experience when you and I got together. And I became pregnant at the age of 15. And I really didn't understand the whole process at first, to a point where I decided to leave. And when I left, I actually walked all the way home and it was a good distance from Euclid all the way to where I lived. And I had to walk up Fair Hill. And at the time, you know, people were stopping to ask me if I wanted to ride, but I was afraid. So I got home and I told them very, you know, strongly that I did not want to go back there. Okay. But I ended up having to go back because I told my mother that the main teasing that I was getting is that I didn't wash my hair every night, you know, because that's black women don't do that. So my mother did take me to the hairdresser. The hairdresser that I went to was a very good friend of my mother's, and she was very angry about the situation. And she didn't want me to go back either, but I was still forced to go back. At the time, there were things happening in the background that I didn't know. Like my grandmother had asked my paternal grandmother if we could come up there, and my paternal grandmother refused to let us come up there because she had asked so many times before then if we could come for a visit, and my grandmother always said no. So I don't really blame her for saying no after, you know, we are in trouble, and she didn't want to have anything to do with that. So I went back to the home and literally stayed by myself. The only thing I liked was the ceramics room where you could make pottery, and they actually had a kiln there. And I enjoyed making the pottery and putting it in the kiln, painting it. And that's what I did for the majority of the time that I was there, is I made different figurines, you know, and whatnot, until I went into labor with my child. It was a long, hard labor, and for all the pain and suffering I did, and for the childbirth, they whisked the child away before I ever got a look at the child. And that was the end of that. I stayed in the hospital for a couple of days after that because I was running a fever, and then I was sent home with empty arms, and that was probably the height of my trauma. And at the height of me feeling that I was basically worthless and just basically depressed. So it came to be that I absolutely refused to sign any adoption papers for my son, because I did have a son. I was so distraught about the situation that my caseworker at the time was a Mrs. Chavers, which I'm sure she's
You remember
gone.
that name after all these years?
Yes. And she gave me an opportunity to spend a little time with my son. And I don't know whether that made it. I think it made it worse, because now I really, really wanted my child, and I wasn't allowed to keep my child. So after that, I just sort of meandered around, cut school a lot. Then by chance, having a chance meeting with another guy, and his best friend recalled that meeting to us, because I didn't remember how I met him, and he told me that we met because him and the other guy was driving down the street, and they wanted to meet us, but the one guy who ended up being my second child's father, he was kind of nervous because he said these are some real ladies right here. And so his friend got out the car and stopped us and talked to us, and then the other guy drove up. His name was James Johnson, and he drove up, and he was just hilariously funny. He made me laugh, and I had not laughed in a long time, not a real laugh, and he just had me just laughing all the time. And he introduced me to some drinking, but it wasn't anything that strong. And I was also introduced to marijuana at the time, and those two things made me feel better, and I felt better being around him, because I think that if I had not met him, I probably would have committed suicide. But since I met him and he kept my spirits up all the time, we ended up traveling to Detroit, and that ended up being another traumatic experience, because I had never been in the world of dope addicts, boosters.
What's a booster?
A booster is a woman who goes into stores and she steals clothes to sell. And that was the name then. I don't know what they call them now, thieves. But anyway, that's how the women in his family made a living, boosting and prostitution.
Okay.
The men made money by selling drugs. Right. So,
So they was kind of like the modern day gypsies of the past. Because that's what the claim was for the gypsies. They was tramps and thieves, remember?
yes,
And prostitutes.
right.
So that
Gypsies,
family,
tramps, and thieves.
so that family was similar to that.
Absolutely, and I'm talking about every member of the family. They did all kinds of things. Like I remember one time he did have an Aunt Olivia, and she was with I don't know whether she was married to him or not. But anyway, he was outside. He was talking out the window of his apartment, and he just had to be. He was talking to some girls out there, and she came with a butcher knife and stabbed him in his behind, which caused him to have a colostomy bag for the rest of his life. And after that happened, I started wondering, whether I should stay there or not. We got put out of his aunt's house. I don't know why, but we got put out of there. And we stayed in an apartment building that was vacant. But it still had water and the lights was on.
So it was abandoned building?
Mm-hmm. But people lived in there. People lived in it. Like, they lived in there, even though it was abandoned. And we found us a spot, in there. Plus, it was furnished, too. So we stayed there for a little while. And then I got a phone call then I called my sister. Basically to let her know that I was all right, but I was thinking about coming back home. And she told me that you had came by the house with an engagement ring, and that you wanted to get married. And I thought, well, if I came home and we got married, we'd be able to find our son and live our life from there. But it didn't happen that way, because when I did get a chance to come back, and I'd be so tired after that, I'm on the bus going to night school at John Hay. So I went to night school at John Hay and took care of the kids in the daytime until my grandmother had another stroke, and I had to call an ambulance, and I also had to get in touch with my mother and call the school to get in touch with my sister, because I couldn't accompany her to the hospital because because of the babies.
Right, got 3 kids.
Right, so I had to call everybody, and that was the stroke that put her in a extended living facility, more or less. It's called Sunny Acres, and that's where people were that, probably just weren't going to get well.
Right.
So now that she was gone, I still had the 3 kids that I was taking care of until my sister graduated from high school. And at that time, there's a little blank space there, but anyway, we decided to get our own place. We got our own place. First we were living apart, but her place was just so overrun with roaches and other vermin that she decided she would just stay with me. And so we decided to stay in the apartment together, stay in the house because it was a two-family house.
Okay.
So we stayed in there together until she had her second child, and I was able to get that housing down there. But in the meantime, I had gotten pregnant again, and this time, this was just purely by, accident, because I was using birth control, which failed, and I had my son. And after I had my son, the father of my son had gone to prison, and he was in there for a short period of time, because I remember that when I saw him, my son couldn't have been no more than about 67 months old. And he found out where I lived. I don't know, he told him, probably my sister. And I didn't want to see him. And my son, who hardly ever.
We're back on. We can keep talking.
All right. So, as I said, I had two feelings there. I had the feeling where I wanted to protect myself, and I was also very frightened by the fact that I knew that if he had broken through that door, I was going to shoot him. And it made me know that anybody was capable of murder.
Of course.
Under
the right circumstances, we will all do it.
Well, everybody was capable of murder. So that was a lesson that I learned. And, and then, I was just taking care of my children, and as I was doing that, I finally was able to get employment, get out the projects, get somewhere that was fairly decent.
Right.
And
he wants to be interviewed too.
Yeah, and so I spent most of my life working for banks. My favorite thing in the world was clubbing. I loved the clubs, okay, because I love to dance. So on the weekends, on Fridays or whatever, I would be clubbing. And that was my recreation, was clubbing, okay? So I was going to work, taking care of the kids, and having, a day to myself on the weekends, all right?
So clubbing was, let me see if I get this straight. Clubbing was your recreation, and marijuana and little alcohol was your medication.
Yes.
You can keep talking. I'll go see what Pharaoh's up to.
Okay, so I raised my kids in the best way I could, and it was kind of hard because I really didn't have a good handle on, being a mother, all right? And I was still mourning for my first son, even though I had a second son and I had a daughter. There was still this hurt inside of me that kept me from being happy, and it also kept me from maybe being more interactive with my children, which I should have been, but I wasn't. So, my daughter, she grew up and she became a physician, and my son grew up and he became a felon. And I always blame myself, for that. And at this point right now in my life, my son is out of jail for the umpteenth time. I don't know how many times he's been in jail, but I'm hoping this is his very last time, and then he's going to be able to find a job and stop doing what he was doing when he was getting incarcerated. My daughter and I at this time are now estranged from each other. And I have come, at first I was just devastated by her not wanting to have anything to do with me, calling me toxic in her life. And if I was toxic in her life, I didn't want to be in her life if that's the way she felt about me, that I was toxic. But by her being my daughter and my child, I mourned the loss of her for quite some time, and it kind of held hands with the loss of my first son. And then I had to also deal with my second son, who just couldn't stay out of jail because he kept doing the same thing over and over again. All right, so that brings us up to the time when I was unemployed because I had actually quit the job that I was working at because another company had taken over that business, which I knew I didn't want to have nothing to do with. So for a little while I worked for a little company that folded 3 weeks after I was hired.
That's cold.
And so, but the good thing about it, it left me with unemployment. And what I didn't know from the first job is that I also, because of the fact that they had to let so many people go at a certain age, that I was able to get severance pay from them for a whole year. And that year, I kind of just was kind of carefree. I had bought a new car, and I was just, relaxing and just having a good time. Because at this point, kids are gone. I got my own place, and I like my place, and I was enjoying my life for the first time until I was realizing that, applications that I was putting in were not being considered when all my life, if I wanted to go to another job, I just did. I put an application in, bam, I'm hired. But for this whole year, things would happen, that were just kind of strange as to why I wouldn't get hired. It may have been, my age. I don't know. But I just wasn't getting the opportunities that I needed. So one night I was just looking to see. I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna get together with all my old classmates, and we're gonna go out to dinner. Okay. So I went on highschool.com, to see if I could find some of them. And in the interim of doing that, I saw your brother on the
Dan or Armin?
No, it was Dan. Dan. He was on there for the high school thing.
Okay.
And then I looked again, and there you were on there also. So, I sent you an email, telling you about myself and things that was going on, and asked you, did you remember me?
I remembered I got that email. Do I remember you? Do you remember what my response was?
Uh-uh.
I wrote you, I emailed you back. Yeah, ain't you the one that screwed up my life? That's what I said. You said, yep, and you screwed up mine. That's how that exchange went. And then it blossomed.
Yes, it did.
But part that didn't happen to you but happened to me was the Sunday before you found me. I had went to Carmen. Remember Carmen's daughter, what's her name? Faith. Faith had a Christmas play. She was getting ready for, and they was practicing. And I went up to the church to see them because they invited me. And when the plate came around, I put in my business card and I put on there, I wrote on the back, hey, Jesus, it's me, hook a brother up. And threw that in the plate. And then the next day, you emailed me. So that was my coincidence there. And so all of this has to be fate or our paths or whatever you want to.
Well, I call it just universal law, okay, because I believe that we were supposed to be together, but there were other things that were in play that caused us not to be together, because there were some human beings that had to come to this earth, and they couldn't come via us. They had to come another way, and
Right.
that's exactly what happened.
Right.
And so.
Because you had your kids and I had mine.
Mine, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We both had.
We had, both of us had our own lives.
Right. So, I think that it was not fate. I think it was supposed to happen that we were to get back together. And we have, and it's been a very fruitful and wonderful experience being with you. And I enjoy my time with you, and I'm happy. I'm happy that me and you are together. I'm happy about where we live. I'm very happy about, plans that we're making for the future. And I'm just joyful about all of that. One thing that I didn't mention that is a few weeks ago I went back to my home city, Cleveland, and that was a wonderful experience because I got to see a lot of my old friends and spend time with my family, which was with my maternal family, which was very important to me, to spend time with them. And especially my aunt, which is my mother's sister, that I spent a wonderful, great time with her. I think we bonded in a different way, and found out so much that her and I had in common, and it was a very comfortable stay. So I will always cherish the time that I spent in Cleveland, but I also cherish the time that I am up here with you. So at that point, I'm going to just end my commentary here